Hello everyone, you're welcome to another tutorial. So in today's video we'll be making an off-shoulder blouse, and here are the fabric that I'll be working with: net lace, lining to line our blouse, taffeta to serve as an underlay for the net lace. You can make use of doll face, raw silk, or whatever fabric you find useful, and organza for the ruffles on the sleeves. So I'll be fusing the main fabric and the lining with hairstay and paper stay. Hairstay for the main fabric and paper stay for the lining. And also we'll be padding the blouse with wadding. So here are the measurements that I'll be working with. Let's get started. So here I've already drawn the starting points, the shoulder, the armhole, and the horizontal lines. So this is the bust line, bust point, under bust, waistline, and the blouse length 24 inches. Now I'll be inserting the quarter bust measurement and the quarter waist circumference and also the quarter hip circumference. So next we'll be inserting the bust span, or nipple to nipple as some call it. Say for instance your nipple to nipple is 8 inches. So what you'll be inserting here is half of it, and that will be 4 inches. Taking up 2 inches from the hemline and then coming down by 1 inch from the bust point. So the dart intake here is 1.5, so 3/4 inch on either side of the dart line. Same thing on the under bust, 1.5, and then 3/4 inch on either side of the dart line. So the next thing we'll be doing here is to take down the neck depth, 4.5 inches. Now you could do up to 5 inches, but just know that the deeper you go, the deeper your neck depth will be. And then the neck width is 5 inches. And also, the wider you go, the wider your neck width will be. And then we curve the armhole. Now we are going to determine the midpoint on the armhole, because this off shoulder is a princess off shoulder. And this is the midpoint. So the dart intake here will be 1.5 inches as well, 3/4 inch on either side of the dart line, mid dart line, sorry, and then take up 1 inch from the bust point. So we curve this part to eliminate sharpness. Also smoothen this part. So So we extend this part. This is so we won't be short of fabric when we're stitching the center front and the side front together. I'll be extending it by 1.5. You could do more, and then connect it to the armhole. Now I want a bit of a curve on the neckline, so on the center front here I'll be coming down by 0.5. So next to take our side seam allowance, 1.5 dart allowance plus 1.5 side seam allowance, making 3 inches. Also 1.5 was taken here for dart plus 1.5 side seam allowance, making 3 inches as well. So no dart was taken here, so I'll just be placing 1.5 inches. I want the hemline to have a bit of a curve, so I'm going to take up 1 inch. You could even do that before inserting your side seam allowance. Now this is how I want it to look like. Now we take the hem allowance. I'll be taking 1 inch for that. Also on the armhole, we'll be taking 0.5 seam allowance. So our front pattern is ready. Next we cut the back pattern. So here I already have the back pattern set, the zip allowance and the bust line, waistline and the blouse length. So now we'll be inserting the quarter bust circumference, quarter waist circumference and quarter hip circumference. The bust span, and note where I'm marking it from. So taking up 2 inches as well, just like we did the front bodies. And the dart intake here will be 1 inch, so ½ inch on either side of the mid dart line. Taking down 4.5 inches for the neck depth, just like we did the front pattern. Neck width 5 inches as well. Connect the armhole. Taking down 0.5, just like we did the front bodice, to curve the neckline, or you could use this to trace it. So we'll get the midpoint on the armhole. Now the dart intake here is 0.5 on each side of the dart, mid-dart line. And we connect the bust line. Now we're going to curve this to also eliminate sharpness. Also extending this part, just like I said, so we won't be short of fabric when we're stitching the side back and the center back together. Next, we'll be taking in 3/4 inch on the waistline. Now this is so we could eliminate zipper bulge. And we connect it to the upper parts of the bodies, and also to the lower parts or to the hemline. Now we take the zipper allowance, 1 inch. You could take up to 1.5 to 2 inches if you want. Taking up 1 inch to curve the hemline. Remember we did that for the front bodies. The hem allowance is also 1 inch, just like the front pattern or bodies. And the side seam allowance, we took 1 inch for that, plus 1.5 side seam allowance, making 2.5. Also 2.5 because 1 inch was taken for that. And here 1.5 because there was no dart taken there. .5 also on the armhole. So next we cut our pattern. So now let's label our pattern. This is going to be cut on fold. This is the center front, and then add 0.5 stitching allowance. CF center front and the side front, and center back, side back. We'll also add 0.5 inch to stitch the side back and the center front and the center back together. So next we cut the sleeve. So here I'm taking down the cap height for the sleeve. And then next, the sleeve length. I'm working with 10 inches here. And the sleeve width is the same 4.5 we took down for the neck depth. Is the same 4.5 I'm working with here. Bicep measurement, half of the bicep measurement actually, and then the sleeve close or sleeve round. So we'll connect that to the armhole. So we add our allowances, hem allowance of 1.5, although I later took half an inch because I'll be using the same fabric for the main fabric and also as lining. And this is the taffeta. I actually use only taffeta for the sleeve. So now we're going to cut our pattern on fabric. We're going to use a pattern to cut on our fabric, and this is how I'll be covering this net lace. Next, we pin them together so it doesn't shift. So it's folded. This is on fold 2. The center front is on fold. So here I'm adding 0.5 stitching allowance. You know, earlier I said we're going to stitch the center front and the side front together, and also the sides back and the center back together. So we need allowances for that. If not, our measurement is going to be short. So next we'll be cutting the side front. So from here henceforth, what you'll be seeing is me cutting our pattern on the fabric and adding 0.5 allowance to stitch them together. I cut 2 pieces, so the center front, the body's front is ready. Now this is the center back. Also unfold 2 pieces. This is the side back. Also 2 pieces, because each one on either side of the center back. Now I'm cutting the lining. I'll be cutting the lining for every pieces that we have cut. So I'm going to use just one side back for both side back of the lining. I hope I'm making sense. So 2 pieces. This is the side back and the center front. I'm going to be removing 1 inch from the hem. So I'm removing the allowance, as the lining does not require allowance, because when we stitch together the hemline of the main fabric and the lining is supposed to kind of like fold over to the lining side. So now this lining is the exact length of the blouse. While the main fabric that I've cut has 1 inch hem allowance. So I'm also going to do the same thing for the side front and the side back. I put them together and I'm removing 1 inch of the hem allowance. Now this is simply because we use the main fabric pattern to cut the lining. It has allowance, hem allowance on it. Now we cut the sleeve. Like I said earlier, that I'll be using the same taffeta for the main sleeve and the lining as well. Now this is for the ruffle. So I'll be cutting 5 inches in width. No, sorry, length. 5 inches in length, because we are going to hem either side of it. Okay, so I have to count this for you to see, because my tape actually got bad, so I couldn't start from the beginning of the tape. So it's actually 5 inches that I took here. So I'll be using this to measure and cut out the organza till I'm done cutting this 1 yard organza. So I'm done cutting, and this marked the end of our part 1. So if you find this video useful, please comment, like, share and subscribe. just to show your support. Thank you. Have a good day.